Hey kids, it's Pastor Darin here. Good to see you guys again. Well, I don't know if I really see you, but you're seeing me. I'm here, I got my bicycle shirt on. I don't know if you guys have been outside to ride your bike. I've been riding my bike quite a bit actually. It's nice to get outside and get some fresh air. All right, well, today we're gonna be doing a new craft, but you remember the crafts that we've done so far? The first time when we got together, we did a craft where this is after Jesus rose from the dead, and Jesus met with some guys that were walking away from Jerusalem and going to the city of Emmaus. Remember how we made that one together? And we got to have them walk. And then last week, we got to do this fun sheep one. Look, oh, it's so funny. It looks almost just like the guy behind me. Remember we did that one where Jesus said to Peter to feed my sheep? Well, today we're going to be doing another craft, and this relates to the Bible story that we're going to be looking at this Sunday at 10:30 with our Zoom meeting. And if you haven't participated yet, you need to have your parents sign up at the church website or on our church app and go to the Connect form and have them check the box where it says Children's Ministry, and then I'll get your email address and I'll send you a link to that meeting. Okay, so that's how you get involved. So this Sunday we're going to be looking at Jesus going up into heaven. Now you remember back on Easter, we remember that Jesus died for our sins, and on Easter morning he rose from the dead. But he continued to live on the earth for quite a while, and he saw his disciples, and his disciples saw him on many occasions. In fact, remember that one where he was walking on the road to Emmaus and he was talking to the disciples? That was after his resurrection. And also when he told Peter to feed his sheep, that was also after the resurrection. Well, now Jesus is going to leave the earth and go to heaven. And we call it the ascension, but it means he's just going up into heaven. And in Luke chapter 24, starting in verse 50, it says this. It says, and he led them out as far as Bethany. So Jesus was with his disciples, and they went to this town of Bethany. And he lifted up his hands, and he blessed them. Now it came to pass, as he blessed them, that he was departed from them and carried into heaven. And they worshiped him and returned to Jerusalem with great joy. And they were praising him continually in the temple, blessing God. And then we also see this similar story in the book of Acts. It's the same event with some more different details. And there it says this, Acts chapter 1, starting in verse 9. It says, now when he had spoken these things while they watched, he was taken up, and a cloud received him out of their sight. And while they looked up steadfastly towards heaven, as he went up, behold, two men stood by them in white clothing. And they said, men of Galilee, why do you stand gazing up into heaven? This same Jesus, who was taken up from you into heaven, will so come in like manner as you saw him go into heaven. So the idea being Jesus is going to come back. He went up into the sky and went into a cloud, and he's going to come back a very similar way. The men said there, we think those men are probably angels. Now, I want to also share with you another verse that Jesus, talking to his disciples, said a little bit before these events happened. And it's in John 14, and it says this, starting in verse 1. It says, let not your heart be troubled. You believe in God, believe also in me. In my Father's house are many mansions, and if it were not so, I would have told you. I go to prepare a place for you. And if I go and prepare a place for you, I will come again and receive you to myself, that where I am, there you might be also. And so Jesus left the earth to go to heaven. And you know what he's doing? He's building a place for you. He's building a place for me so that we can be with him together forever. Isn't that awesome? It's so encouraging to think about that God's building a place for us. Well, today's craft is this. It's remembering how Jesus went up into heaven. So here's little cartoon Jesus right here. And here's the clouds. And what's going to happen is we're going to make this craft, and Jesus is going to ascend up and up and up and go into the clouds and be taken up into heaven. And notice what it says. I go to prepare a place for you. That's right. Jesus is going to prepare a place for you. In fact, that's where he is right now, and he's making a place for us. It's pretty exciting. All right. Well, let me show you the things that we're going to need for this craft. First of all, your parents are going to need to download the materials, the printed materials, so that you can cut them out. So the first page looks like this. And it's a little printout. We're going to cut that out. And the next page is the clouds with the words on it. Okay. And then the next one is like the little blue cone that we're going to make. It looks kind of like this from the back. Okay, it looks kind of like that. And if you don't have blue paper, you can print it out on white paper just like this. You can go ahead and cut it. And you can simply color it with a blue pen. Okay, so you can do something like that. So if you don't have blue paper to print this sheet on, you can just color it afterwards and make yours that way. Okay, so you'll need to print all those things out. Then the supplies that you're going to need is you're going to need some scissors. In fact, there's a lot of cutting on this particular craft. So scissors, some tape. Now you need some yarn. This is about 24 inches of yarn. It can be any color. I just happen to have blue here at the church, so I'm using blue. And if you need to color that page, remember I mentioned, you'll need a blue marker if you don't have blue paper. So I use blue marker to just color this paper like this. Okay, so not a lot of supplies. And so let's go ahead and get going. All right, so I'm going to move our supplies out of the way. And let's go ahead and we're going to start with our first page. It looks like this. And let's go ahead. We're going to take our scissors and we're going to start to cut out. All right? Now, depending on how good you are at cutting, you can cut really, really detailed close to the edges, or you can leave a little bit of room if you want to go maybe a little bit faster, or if you maybe don't have the same amount of control. Now, what I want to do is I want to leave this part. In fact, I don't think I showed you this part. We're going to take this part here and see how the bottom is. We're going to eventually fold this, and these guys are going to stand up. They're going to be the disciples that are looking up at Jesus go into heaven. Okay, so it's going to stand up all by itself. I don't know if you can see that. All right. So we'll cut the bottom part out, but leave this white part right here. That's very important so that we can have it stand up all by itself. It'll be like a little stand for us. Okay, so let's go ahead. I'm going to just start cutting along the side here. We're going to cut out this background. Okay, and then I'm going to actually just cut Jesus out separate, and this is little cartoon Jesus, okay? All right, so I'm going to cut around his feet like that, and just cut the top part off, okay? So we're going to leave him here, and let's go ahead. I'm going to cut the other side, and cut just the sides off like that. Okay. Now, in here, you could cut really close to all the thing, cut the hand out and all that, but you may not want to, you may not be good enough, or not good enough, but it may be too hard to do it for your age, or maybe you just don't have the time to do it. So I'm going to just cut in kind of a simple way around these guys, not too far away from it, and I'm gonna just leave some of that white area around it. And if you want to do it this way, that's totally fine. You can do it either way. Okay, so see how I cut out, not too detailed. Now, you'll notice the one that I did before, I cut it out really, really detailed. Okay, so see how the hands are? But on this one, I just left it with a little bit of white around it. And you can do it either way, depending on what you're comfortable with, how much time you have, and maybe how much you can have control of your scissors, okay? So either way is fine. I'm gonna move these guys up there, and then let's go ahead and cut out Jesus, little cartoon Jesus here. And I'm gonna do the same thing with him. I'm gonna just leave a little bit of room all the way around him and not worry too much about getting it perfect, like going really tight around his ear. I'm just gonna go in general all the way around him and leave some white space, just like that. Okay, so hopefully that won't be too hard for you. I took a little bit of time to cut really, really detailed on the first project. So if you see here, as I pull Jesus back out, see how I cut his feet out and his hands, and there's no white paper around it? So you can do it either way, like this or like this, whichever you like, okay? All right, so that's this first sheet. So we took this sheet and we cut all the pieces out, and now we have these two pieces ready to go, okay? So let's set these aside. Whoop. They're gonna go over there. And let's do the same with our clouds, okay? So again, I cut them really, really close to the edge. And if you'd like to do them that way, you can. Or if you want to just go a little bit faster and not so detailed, that's fine too. So I'm going to do the first cut, just separating the clouds from each other, okay? So let's go ahead. I'm going to so now we have two pieces, the bottom and the top. And I'm going to just kind of quickly just go and cut this out so it's the basic shape of the cloud, but not worry too much about going and getting all those little details. Again, you can do it either way. They both are awesome. All right. All right. Well, while we're cutting, how have you guys been doing? You guys been doing good at home? Man, I know it's been a long time where we haven't been able to be together at church, and you guys haven't been going to school. If you guys go to public school or maybe a private school or something, I don't know if some of you guys are maybe starting to do your school at home online. I know my two boys, we homeschool them, and so they study at home all the time. That's kind of their normal. So they haven't really had any change with school. They've just been doing what they've been doing all year. And so let's see. So there's the top and the bottom. We have the clouds. Okay, again, just to show you the difference, you can do your clouds where you cut out all the little details, or you can just do it a little bit easier like this where you don't go into all those details. It really just depends on how much time and effort you want to put into it. They both are awesome. Okay, so that is that. Those are the clouds. So we have those pieces ready to go. Now we're down to this paper, okay? So I'm going to use the blue, but again, I showed you before that if you only have white paper, you can cut it out and you can color it just like this, so it'll be blue. Okay, so I'm going to take our blue, because I have the blue paper, I'm going to cut this out. And see how I have the dotted lines around here? That means I don't want to see those lines. So I'm going to cut it so those lines are gone. Okay, so let's go ahead and cut around so those dotted lines go away. It's gonna be great. Again, depending on how much control you have of your scissors, you can do it more and more detailed. This part is not too tough. All right, so just a couple of loops. As you can see, I'm cutting kind of quick. And you can go quick or you can go really, really careful and slow. Really just depends on how you want to do it. All right, so I'm almost done. I'm getting to the last cut right here. Line up my scissor and make that last turn. And I'm gonna just kind of go out to the edge, even though our dots didn't really show that, okay? So now we have all of our things cut out. We have this page. We have our clouds. I'm gonna actually put them down here so we can take a look. We have our clouds, and then we have our cutouts. We have Jesus and the disciples. So all of our pieces are cut out, okay? Now, this is a time where we're gonna take our yarn, very important, and let's go ahead, we're gonna set our clouds aside, and we're gonna set Jesus and the disciples aside, and we're gonna take this piece right here, okay? The paper that is blue, okay? This one. Now you might need to color it, and that's fine, and it'll look like this when you're done. But notice on this paper there's some words, and this word here says under, and this word here says top. So what we're gonna do is this piece, we're gonna make a cone. Okay, almost like a snow cone. Have you never had a snow cone before? Where they have like a little cone paper cup and they put shaved ice in it and they put awesome sweet sauce on the top. It's really good. It's called shaved ice. Anyway, or a snow cone. So we're gonna take this under part where it says under, and this is I'm gonna loop it around, and it's gonna go underneath the other side. Okay, let me show you that again. So the under is pointing towards me. I can read the words under, and I'm gonna loop this around, and it's gonna go underneath the other side. Okay, so it's gonna look like that. And then see where it says top? That's the top of our paper. And then I'm gonna reach inside, and I'm gonna where it says under, I'm gonna just kind of twist it. And so what we need to do, let's see, how does this work? There's top, there's under. Okay, so it's gonna go around. I'm having trouble myself, oh my goodness. Okay, here we go, that's better. Our cone needs to be kind of big. So it should look a little bit like this. So the top, see where it says top right up here? And the back side, the pieces kind of come together a little bit. Not perfect, but it's gonna look kind of like that. And so at the top, you want the hole, see that hole right there? You wanna adjust it so the hole is kind of small. Oh wait, you know what? Before we tape it, I forgot something. We need to put our string inside, okay? Let's put our string inside like that. This is important, okay? So the string has to go out the top. You see that? Now, I'm gonna roll the under back inside, and the top is gonna be up there on top, just like that. Okay, but now what we need to do is we need to kind of adjust. We need to adjust, make sure that your paper and the string is kind of free on the top there, okay? I don't know if you can see that. All right. But then you need to kind of adjust the paper so the top is kind of tight, because you want it to kind of hold the string so when you pull it, it kind of stays there, all right? So I'm gonna just tighten that up a little bit, and then at the top, I'm going to put just a little piece of our tape. Now, This takes about 3 or 4 hands. So someone's going to have to hold the cone, someone's going to have to get the tape, and someone has to put the tape on. So you might have to work like a team with your mom or dad or whoever's helping you, okay? And then it's going to look kind of like this, okay? All right, so do you see that? You have your cone, and you have your string going through it, okay? All right, so now, let's do this. We're going to take our cone and see the seam that's back here? We're going to put that in the back. That's going to be the back, okay? And then what we're going to do is we're going to take our cone and we're going to kind of gently flatten it. I mean, kind of like a crease, but I don't want it absolutely flat. Okay, so just like that. And then we're going to attach our clouds on top of our cone, and it's going to go something like that. Okay, see how our loops on the bottom part of this kind of line up a little bit? That's what we want to do, something like that. So you can, at this point, if you want, you could use glue, even though I didn't mention glue earlier. You could use glue, or what I like to do is just take some tape, and you can take just a small strip, and then you can loop it back on itself and kind of make like your own custom double-sided tape. Now, if you have double-sided tape, use that. It'll be way easier. But I'm going to go ahead and put this right here. And now it's sticky on both sides. And I'm going to line up the top. I don't know if you can see that. I'll bring it down a little bit. I'm going to line up the top right there. And I'm going to stick this one on. Okay, and I'm going to do the same thing to the bottom cloud. Okay, let's do the same thing to the bottom cloud. I'm going to take a little strip, fold it over on itself, and now it's like a little loop. You see that? And I'm going to put that on here, and then line up our cloud right in the right spot and stick it on. Okay? So it says, I go to prepare a place for you. That is awesome. Okay, so next, we are going to follow our string down here all the way to the bottom, and we need to put Jesus onto our string. Okay? So we'll take cartoon Jesus, and we'll put our string right there. And I'm going to just take some tape, just a small piece like that, and stick it on just like that. Okay? Do you see how that works? Little tape right there. Now here's Jesus, and then here's our clouds. And so Jesus is hanging, in our craft, he's hanging from a string. Now in real life, it wasn't a string, right? Jesus, he's God, so he doesn't worry about gravity. He can go up if he wants. He could go wherever he wants to. Okay, but for our craft, we need to use a string. Okay, so here is our craft that we made. And it says, I go to prepare a place for you. And then, watch this. Pull this top string, and we're going to see Jesus. Oh, he's not facing the right way. There he is. He's going to go all the way up into the clouds. And then the clouds are going to take him up to heaven. Isn't that fun? All right, you guys. I hope you have a good time with that craft. I had a good time doing it with you. And again, 10:30, we're going to do a Zoom meeting with the kids. We've been having a lot of fun doing that. Mr. Mike Rath has been doing a lesson with us. This week, he's going to be doing the story about Jesus going into heaven and talking about some more details there. And so I'd love to have you join us, but you need to have an invitation because it's a special Zoom meeting with a special password, okay? And your parents need to get that, okay? All right, God bless you guys. Love you, and we'll see you next time.